and they don't really like me. Cause I can fuck your bitch and fuck your mom and auntie.
Hello guys, welcome to the Darkest TikTok IceBerg Part 3, the final tier. I do want to start by explaining how this video is going to work, because it is a little bit different from the first two parts. So first I want to start off by saying I'm not an IceBerg channel. just want to get that out there. If you guys want to watch my last video, make sure to go watch it after this video. It is called Cartoon Episodes That Traumatized Children. So yeah, if you like morbid horror video essay type videos,
yeah, at this
make
point
sure to
I
hit
might
that
as well
subscribe
just
button.
fuck.
Anyway, usually we go from most
you
tame to most gruesome.
You got my
But
sub,
for this
bro.
video, we'll be
You
talking
got
about 10 topics, those being the worst of the worst that we could find. And why do I say we? Well, today we actually have a co-host for this video. Joining me today is the amazing True Crime Cam. You guys may have seen her TikToks on your For You page, considering she has 1.3 million followers on the app. I just really needed someone who had the TikTok knowledge. So this video will be split evenly. I'll go once, then she'll go, then I'll go, then yeah. Make sure to subscribe to her. She's gonna earn your subscription by the end of this video, trust me. Also, thank you guys so much for letting me get the 100K plaque. That's so amazing. When we started this series, I was at 85,000. Now we're nearing 200,000 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for sticking around with me, and make sure to grab a drink, grab a snack. Let's get started with the video. Jonathan G. Now, Jonathan G is Jonathan Melindo. I don't want to say his actual name, simply because I think YouTube demonetizes whenever you say his name. That's why we're gonna go with Jonathan G. You guys most likely have heard of this, but let's keep talking about it. Jonathan G was a TikTok account that appeared in 2020, but the original account has since been banned. To understand exactly who and what Jonathan G is, first we have to go back to 2016 and inform ourselves about the Blue Whale Challenge. The Blue Whale Challenge began in Russia and was basically this game where anonymous users on the internet would manipulate young teenagers into themselves. The challenge would last for 50 days and you were supposed to do one challenge a day. The last challenge involved jumping off of a high building. It is believed that Rina Palenkova was the first victim of this horrible game. We spoke briefly about her in part 2. This happened again in 2019 with the infamous Momo picture, which I can't show or else this video would get demonetized. YouTube does not like this image because of just how controversial and popular it became and the negative connotation it carried with it. Then in 2020, the same type of challenge returned, but in the form of Jonathan G. So, where was the first sighting? Apparently, the first sighting of any of these accounts was on TikTok, going under the username @JonathanG54. Eventually, more and more people began adopting this Jonathan G persona. These people would message others on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord, and force them to play their game. Yes, this game involved harming yourself and eventually committing suicide. If you're wondering how these anonymous people were able to convince these young teens into doing these horrible actions, it's because they would threaten to dox, which means find your address, kill your entire family, and do other disgusting things. Usually, they would send a link, and if the victim clicks that link, their IP address is leaked. Then, all the Jonathan G accounts would have to do is copy and paste that into an IP address finder, and boom, he has enough to scare a kid with. So now that we all know this is just Blue Whale 3, who is the real Jonathan G, and who is the person in the images? Well, the origins of the name cannot be traced back to anyone. I'm assuming it's just a random name someone came up with and everyone else just rolled with it. But the person in the images is Samuel Canini, aka Dusky Sam. He wrote on Twitter, "Hello everyone. This Jonathan G madness seems to be terrorizing a great many young, impressionable people. The photos and videos are mine from 2012 to 2013. They were for my own amusement then, not for some modern day thrill seeker looking to scare and bully people. If you get some message from anyone starting up some game, do not engage with them. Do not let them into your life. This world has enough real problems, and suffering or dying for someone's cheap pleasure should not be one of them." Sadly, this game and all the other versions of it have resulted in a lot of kids committing. I read this one about this 11-year-old boy in Italy, and he left a note on his tablet, like his final message, and that read, "I love you, mom and dad. Now I have to follow the man in the black hood. I have no more time. Forgive me." I just can't believe people are out there trying to manipulate kids into doing this. Just why? Because it's fun? Because it's cool? Like, if it makes you guys feel any better, people actually were caught trying to be this Jonathan G character, and they were sent off to prison.
Hello everyone, I'm Cam, aka True Crime Cam on TikTok. I also have a YouTube channel if you want to subscribe. I would love you forever. And I also want to say thank you to Tuv for inviting me to collab on this video. You're awesome. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about John Ferry, aka the founder and CEO of John's Bones. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this guy on your TikTok For You page at least once. And if you have seen him, you would remember because he has a massive collection of human bones. He's come under scrutiny recently because people are questioning if his business and the way he treats the remains are ethical. John told Mashable this in an email referring to his business. Quote, "These pieces are not decoration. They are teaching tools and serve a very important purpose." This is a very hypocritical statement considering John has dressed up these human remains and let his cats play with them like toys.
How to tell the difference between a male and female skeleton? By fisting. We drove to buy a real human skeleton. The thing about the question of where do I get them from, even if I were to like thoroughly explain it, it doesn't matter to like 99% of you because you won't do anything with that information. And the second thing is, it's kind of like going to your weed dealer and being like, where do you get your weed from?
I first want to point out that John is not an osteologist, which is a trained professional who critically analyzes and evaluates remains to determine where they came from, how old they are, etc. People have stated that if he tried to get into this field, they would shut him down as soon as they saw his TikTok. John is just a designer, a rich guy in New York City that started his business with the help of his parents. John buys his remains from old medical collections or bone traffickers, then sells them back to the public under the guise of making the study of bones and human anatomy accessible. Anyone could buy these human remains and do whatever they want with them. You could close out this YouTube video right now and go buy some human bones. That is if you have the thousands of dollars to spare. There's also absolutely no way to know if these bones were collected ethically. I mean, if someone really donated their body to science, do you think they want to be hung in some random New Yorker's apartment put on TikTok? So the even darker side of this practice is the history of colonizers grave robbing indigenous people and stealing their bodies for, quote, scientific collections. At one point, John listed for sale the skull of a Sami person. The description of the skull also included a slur in reference to the group. Once people found out, he quickly removed it from his website and didn't address it. To give some background, Sami people were routinely collected during the 19th and 20th centuries through grave robberies, excavations, and trade, none of which the Sami people agreed to nor wanted. Specifically, during the 1950s, 25 skulls were exhumed and examined to test racial theories. It wasn't until August of 2019 the Swedish History Museum finally returned the remains of indigenous Sami people to their original burial grounds. I want to end this topic by reading a direct quote from the Pedestrian article written by this individual. Quote, "Black, indigenous, and other ethnic bodies are not props for art. They are not objects to be pillaged and dissected by anyone. They are not exhibitions to be consumed and sold. They belong to real people who were victimized, and we shouldn't be okay with the private trade of these bones, which people have no ethical right to procure in an industry built on racism and violence."
Gemini, corrected. Okay, so in part 2, I spoke about Gemini and Daniel Larson. I got some backlash for my bad research from a very serious Papa Gut. We spoke in DMs and I even popped into his stream and we had a very nice and wholesome conversation about the topics that I messed up on. He was extremely nice when educating me on both situations, but today we will only be talking about the Gemini situation, not the Daniel Larson one. Reason being, I was planning on talking about both Gemini and Daniel Larson and correcting both, but Daniel Larson, or at least I think it's him, left this disturbing comment under Papa Gut's video which made me say, you know what, I'm not sticking my head any further down this rabbit hole. I spoke to Papa Gut in DMs and he agreed that that situation is just kind of getting out of hand at this point. So if you guys want to know more about that specific situation, make sure to go to Papa Gut's channel. He has a bunch of videos about Daniel Larson. Anyway, back to the Gemini situation. In part 2, it seemed like I almost downplayed the Gemini situation. By the way, if you guys go back to the video is updated. Those 2 segments are actually trimmed out of the video. It seemed like I downplayed the situation, which is something I would never want to do. I mean, we're talking about the R word here. I would never want to downplay that. I was telling Papa Gut in the stream that those were not my intentions at all. Like, I was not doing this with ill intent, you know? Anyway, I went on Papa Gut's Twitch stream. As I was saying, he was educating me on both situations, but I would like to share with you guys some notes that I took while learning about all the horrible things Gemini has done. So first off, I want to say that Papa Gut was actually one of the people that really pushed for Gemini's termination of all his social media. And judging from Papa Gut's uploads, it seems these stories I'm about to tell you happened in 2020 or were at least revealed in 2020. These stories are not in chronological order, but they are all true. Trust me, I tried finding it in chronological order, but wow. There is a lot to cover here, so I'm going to give you guys my main bullet points. Gemini registers as a miner on Yubo to talk to other miners. This isn't necessarily illegal, but the implications of this are very odd. Gemini has sex with a 15-year-old not knowing she was 15, and him being 19. Then Snapchat screenshots came out revealing that when he did find out, he still wanted to have phone sex. And him having sex with a 15-year-old is still illegal. Like, that's extremely illegal and irresponsible. As influencers, we're supposed to make sure that the people we carry conversations with on the internet are over 18. Gemini was an RA in a college dorm and would be creepy and break into girls' dorms, sit on their beds, and wait for them to come home. This resulted in Gemini being kicked from the school due to sexual battery. Papaga says he received this info from the girls at the college. A girl came out with her story about Gemini in which she showed images of her bruised body and claimed that she was drunk, so Gemini took advantage of this, drove her home, and R-worded her. I in no way meant to downplay the situation when I first talked about it, and I'm sorry to anyone if it seemed like I was downplaying the situation. It was all my fault. It was just bad research on my part. Gemini has since returned to Instagram as ZZER_00, where he took the religious route and praises God every chance he gets, and you can even tip him or buy a cameo from him, which I said in the original video, which is why? Why? So yeah, this Gemini dude is disgusting and trying to get people to pay for his cameo, like, or tip him. It's absolutely disgusting. And again, thank you to Papagut for educating me on the subject.
Victor Sosa, the killer that TikTok users found and caught. So on February 23rd of this year, Daisy De La O was fatally stabbed outside of her family's California home by her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Victor Sosa. Her body was discovered the next morning by a property manager, covered by a roll of carpet. Victor was a suspect immediately after her death, but he had already fled the country. Daisy's family and friends decided that they weren't going to sit by and wait for authorities to act, so they launched an investigation of their own with the help of TikTok. They posted videos and images of Daisy, shared her story, as well as images of Victor calling for people to share and find him. They used the hashtag #JusticeForDaisy. Luckily, the videos landed on the right For You pages, and tips started rushing in. Victor Sosa had been spotted working at a bar in Mexico called Papas and Beer. The person who sent this tip in said that Victor had been working at this bar for weeks and was living his best life like nothing ever happened. The tips were confirmed by authorities, and Victor was arrested on July 2nd. He was transported back to LA and pleaded not guilty to the murder of Daisy. Daisy had ended her relationship with Victor just weeks before her murder because he had allegedly been abusing her. Victor then texted her, convinced her to come outside, and that was the last time she ever saw her family. Daisy's mother, Susanna, told the media this, quote, "He took a part of my soul and I can never get it back until I reunite with her again. I hope he remembers my daughter's face every single minute of his life. I hope he rots in jail and never hurts anybody else." Susanna wants justice for her daughter and hopes by telling Daisy's story that other young women will find the strength to lead these abusive relationships. If you or someone you know is suffering in an abusive relationship, go to www.thehotline.org for support.
Benadryl challenge. In mid-2020, a new trend surfaced on TikTok, that being the Benadryl challenge. Benadryl is an over-the-counter drug that anyone of any age can buy. It's used to help relieve symptoms of hay fever, other allergies, and the common cold, as well as itchy skin due to insect bites. Teens began taking more than they were supposed to experience the high. Overdosing on Benadryl can lead to abnormal heart rhythms, hallucinations, seizures, and even death. So the typical dosage for Benadryl is 25 to 50 milligrams. These teens were taking 12 times more the expected amount and taking 300 to 500 milligrams. A teenager in Oklahoma died from this challenge, and several other teens were hospitalized.
An unthinkable tragedy. An Oklahoma teenager dies as a result of the latest TikTok challenge. The same challenge is also blamed for the hospitalization of at least 3 teenagers in Texas earlier this year. While young people meet.
Now, I couldn't find any of these TikToks, probably because they were all taken down, but even if I did, I wouldn't be able to show you guys. If any of these trends come back, like try to make a comeback, please guys, don't let this happen. For the love of God, don't overdose on drugs and then record yourself and then end up getting hospitalized. It's one of the dumbest things you can do.
The TikTok challenge that dares people to strangle themselves and
These
escape.
TikTok teenagers
this
is
challenge
fucking
has been
stupid as
referred
shit.
to as the Blackout challenge,
I
the
might
game
sound
of
like a
choking,
fucking
and
old
speed
head, but
dreaming.
nah, bro.
Even though
these
this is
niggas
public information, because this child is so young, I'm
just
going to be
doing this shit
referring
for
to
clout,
him as
bro.
Junior. In June of this
This
year,
shit
a
is out
young
of
boy was
pocket.
found unresponsive in his room with a belt around his neck. His family rushed him to the hospital where he was pronounced deceased. In an interview, Junior's family said, quote, "It wasn't until later on that we found out there was some type of video on TikTok letting kids know how to strangle yourself. But he's 7 years old, so how is he going to get out of it?" A spokesperson from TikTok has since said that the challenge has been banned from the platform. Junior's family encouraged parents to block various social media sites and educate themselves about what could be lurking behind their kids' screen. The effect of TikTok's Blackout challenge reached far beyond the United States. In January of this year, Italian authorities launched an investigation into the death of a 10-year-old girl who participated in the challenge. The girl was discovered by her younger sister in the bathroom. Authorities then seized the young girl's phone. In an interview, the girl's family said, quote, "We didn't know she was participating in this game. We knew that she went on TikTok for dances, to look at videos. How could someone imagine this atrocity?" Italy's data protection agency even filed a lawsuit against TikTok in December of 2020. This lawsuit alleges a, quote, "lack of attention to the protection of minors," and it criticizes the ease in which young children could sign up and use the app. These are just two of the several kids that have passed away after participating in this dangerous TikTok trend. And this really begs the question, what dangerous TikTok challenge is going to trend next? And is TikTok even going to stop it in time, or is it going to take the lives of more kids?
Zombie Woman is not Marilyn Stanley. In part 1, we spoke about a woman in Seattle, Washington who was clearly in distress. Many of you were telling me in the comments that the woman in the video is a woman by the name of Marilyn Stanley. At first, I thought so too, but after more research, these two cases are actually completely separate. These are not the same people. The Marilyn Stanley case took place in Kentucky in 2017, and she was not recorded by anyone. The story goes that this woman was in an abusive relationship with her then boyfriend, named Zachary. Throughout the relationship, he would beat her, and she didn't leave because he threatened to kill her if she tried. Eventually, she was over at his house, and out of nowhere, he punched her repeatedly in the face. She sobbed and said, "Why are you doing this?" And he said it was because of a Facebook post. She was tagged in a post by some random guy, and Zachary ended up seeing that. But the guy wasn't so random. Marilyn actually went to the park with her son and her female friend. That random guy just so happened to be a friend of her female friend, and he just came up saying hi, you know. I guess they ended up taking a group picture where then he tagged her. He dragged her to his bedroom and continued beating her. Then his pit bull came and bit half of Marilyn's ear off. She blacked out and woke up to Zachary smirking, and he said, "Look at you. You're bald. Now nobody's gonna want you. Go look at yourself in the mirror." She describes going to the mirror, but only seeing her bloody head. Didn't think much of it at the time. I mean, the adrenaline in you and you just want to escape. He then continued beating her for another 2 hours straight. And this dude had the audacity to drop her off at her mom's house so her mom could see her. And then he just drove off. So then her mom drove her to the hospital. Gonna call the police now. And Zachary, he ended up blaming the scalping on his dog. But detectives were able to find out that the knife he used had scalp on it. So it was obviously him that did that to her to make sure that she wouldn't be able to find a boyfriend in the future. And sadly, the pit bull was euthanized. This idiot ended up getting 20 years in prison, which, bro, honestly, I think we can all agree he deserves a lot more. And sadly, Marilyn has to wear wigs now since she cannot grow hair at the top of her head anymore.
TikTok helped identify an Appalachian Trail killer. On April 29th, 2019, TikTok user Taylor, aka @FlowersDon'tGrowl, went camping with her boyfriend at Fall Creek Falls in Tennessee. Taylor was just 5 months pregnant at the time and expected her boyfriend Chris to propose, so she heavily documented their trip. The morning after they arrived, most of the nearby campers left and they were left isolated on the campgrounds. That night, they heard a large boom and went to investigate. It ended up being a car crash about a half a mile away. They just went over and made sure that everyone was okay, and after police arrived, they made their trek back to their campsite. Ahead of them, they saw a man with a flashlight sprinting to the bathroom. They joked about it and assumed that this guy just really had to use the bathroom. However, instead of going into the bathroom, he just stopped, turned around, and started staring at the couple. He then said, quote, "Wow, you guys are fast." Chris thought he was referring to how quickly they got to the crash, and responded that they just wanted to make sure that everyone was safe. At this point, Taylor and Chris were just really confused and wondering why this creepy man had a weird smile across his face. They wanted to get out of the situation, so they just said they had to get back to their campsite because police were waiting there for a statement from them. They attempted to walk past him, but the man just kept moving towards them and playing with something in his hoodie pocket. This is where things got really scary and intense for them. The man said, quote, "Car accident? It got me thinking about when I was hiking and past these flowers. I stopped as they were beautiful and I heard deep growls and it scared me. And it made me think, you never know what day is going to be your last." This is when Taylor finally saw the outline of what the man was playing with in his pocket. It was a knife. She told Chris to run and screamed, quote, "Flowers don't growl," hence her TikTok name now. She and her boyfriend took off and the man started chasing them. They ran back to the crash site where luckily officers were still on the scene. The man must have been scared by the police lights because he just eventually wandered off and faded into the darkness. An officer accompanied them back to their campsite so they could gather their belongings and get the heck out of there. A whole year went by and there was no word from authorities on who this mysterious man was and why he tried to kill them. So Taylor went to TikTok to post her story and share her terrifying experience. Her videos went viral, and Taylor learned not only the identity of the man, but the fact that he had killed someone just 2 weeks after they'd crossed paths. A month after Taylor and Chris's scare in May of 2019, Ronald S. Sanchez Jr. hiked the Appalachian Trail. On the 10th, just 2 weeks after Taylor and Chris were nearly killed, Ronald made it to Southwest Virginia. This is where Ronald ran into the man that attempted to murder Taylor and Chris, who was later identified as James L. Jordan. Ronald managed to send an emergency signal via his GPS device just before James Jordan fatally stabbed him. A Canadian woman nearby was also stabbed and managed to survive by playing dead. She then ran back to meet the other hikers and made a 6-mile trek to safety with them. In April of 2021, James Jordan was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
Devious Lick trend. The Devious Lick trend is the most recent trend that I'm going to be talking about, and it's so recent in fact that it's happening as this video is going to be uploaded. In case you don't know, hitting a lick means robbing someone or robbing a certain place. Shout out to GTA for teaching me that. Basically, high schoolers are stealing things from their school, bringing it home, and posting it on TikTok like it's some sort of achievement. At first, they were stealing things like the clock in the classroom wall, calculators, expo markers, but as time went on, kids began stealing things of way more value. Why? For shock humor and TikTok likes. They have stolen things like water fountains, fire extinguishers, bathroom mirrors, security cameras, hand sanitizer dispensers, toilets, and so much more. Not only this, but kids began just basically destroying the inside of their bathrooms, just making it a living hell for all of the staff and janitors. This trend has actually forced schools to remove the bathroom doors, go on lockdown, make announcements, and overall just super glue everything to their facilities. I'm just kidding, that last part was a joke. They don't have to super glue. I don't know how vandalizing and committing theft is a trend now, and especially the fact that you snitch on yourself when you post about it. We only have 3 months left in 2021, and I won't be surprised if there's one more stupid trend just squeezed in there, maybe even 2, but I won't be surprised if we get one more stupid trend by the time this year ends.
TikTok user FreyTodoroki. A Brazilian TikToker who goes by Freya conspired with 2 friends to kill a girl. I'm really sorry if I slaughter the pronunciation of any of these names in this story. 19-year-old Raíssa Borges wanted to know if she was a psychopath. To test this theory, she conspired with 18-year-old Freya and 22-year-old Jefferson to kill a petite person that couldn't fight back. They made a list of 3 possible victims, eventually settling on 18-year-old Ariane Laureano de Oliveira. On August 24th, the group invited Ariane into the woods to hang out. Ariane texted her mom that she was hanging out with friends and she'd be coming home shortly. However, Ariane never returned home and her mother never saw her alive again. The group planned the murder in great detail beforehand. They decided that after they were all in the car, they would start playing a specific song about murder. During the song, one of the teens then snapped their fingers, and that was the cue for Raíssa to attack Ariane. Hyessa then started to strangle Ariane, but ultimately couldn't kill her alone. That's when Freya and Jefferson joined in. As Ariane passed out, they stabbed her 3 times to make sure that she was gone. The group then disposed of her body in the woods and fled. Ariane's body was discovered a week later on the 31st after reports of a foul odor came to authorities. On September 16th, authorities arrested Hyessa, Freya, and Jefferson, and this case is still ongoing.
What the fuck was the point of that?
If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, and if you're not subscribed, please may I ask for your subscription if you enjoyed the video.
Forward, ain't no stress on me, Lord. I'm moving forward, keep moving forward, keep moving forward.